Hello, folks. My name is Josh, and I am the teacher of philosophy at Working Sixth Form. And I've put together this little video just to give you a bit of an idea of what the course might look like, what the structure of the course will be, and hopefully to answer a few of your questions about the kind of concepts you'll be dealing with if you choose to do philosophy at A level. So, with that in mind, let's begin. A little bit of general information. Introductions. That's me. You can see me up in the top right-hand corner. This is also a very unfortunate staff photo of me, but both of them are me, and therefore, hopefully, if you do see me when you come along in September or later, you will actually recognize me. Everything I talk about within this video will actually be accessible to you through links that I'm going to put at the end of the PowerPoint, the end of the video, and assorted websites, so that if you need further information or you want any clarification on what I've said, feel free to look the information up. Or I'll also be giving you my email address, and you can email me direct and ask for the information, or just have a general discussion about the subject if you wish to. I would look forward to hearing from many of you, so please feel free to do that, even if you don't have specific questions. So the course itself is AQA level philosophy, as you can see there. That's the specification cover. The course is divided into two halves. The first half, component 1, is the epistemology and moral philosophy. Component 2 is the metaphysics of God and the metaphysics of mind. Now, don't panic. A lot of you will have no idea what these terms mean. That's absolutely fine. As I said, you can go away and look at them in a little bit more detail, but equally, don't worry if you don't do that. That's something that you'll become more familiar with if you choose to do the course. Moral philosophy, most of you will have had some experience of through your religious studies work at GCSE. And the same is true with metaphysics of God, which was previously called philosophy of religion. Epistemology, which is a theory of knowledge, and the metaphysics of mind, which is to do with the structure and philosophical nature of the human mind, are things that you won't have covered yet, because they are relatively new to A level, but also they are things that you wouldn't cover until you get to at least A level and are studying the subject. So the structure of the course is as follows. You will have those 4 subjects, as I said, split down the middle. And I think what a lot of people are interested in is the assessment. The assessment is all exam-based. It's all at the end of the 2 years. You begin the linear course at the beginning of year 12 and you finish it at the end of year 13. At that point, you have 2 3-hour exams covering the whole spec. So component 1, epistemology and moral philosophy, you have 1 3-hour paper on that. And then you have a further 3-hour paper, usually about a week later, on metaphysics of God and metaphysics of mind. So this is important because if you are somebody who doesn't like exams and isn't a great fan of lengthy written work, then do bear this in mind. It's something very important to think about, because the structure of the exam is such that it is a long period of time of essay writing, and therefore it's something you need to factor into your decision when choosing your subjects across the board. Okay, as I said, it's 100 marks per paper, 2 papers are 50% each, and all of that will contribute to your final grade. No coursework, everything is exam-based at the end of the 2 years. So the fun stuff, or what I consider to be the fun stuff, are the things that you can buy to get yourself set up for A-level study. The more of these you have, the more effective you will be. Preparation is always a positive thing, and so when you have all your equipment, you're going to feel better about everything that you do. You will feel more in control of the whole process. So I always suggest that you have at least the following: 1 large lever arch file, that's the big thick one, if you aren't sure which one that is, and a series of file dividers, a minimum of 4. 1 daily work folder or notebook or booklet, something you can carry around with you, but so you don't have to carry all your notes at any one time. A lot of A4 hole punched lined paper. The more of this you have, the better off you will be, because there will always be lots of writing at A level, and you don't really want to be without. Um, 3 different colored highlighters, but I would suggest getting more than that. Why not? You may as well buy as many as you like, as many as colors there are, and lots of pens just for general writing. Um, Pens are invaluable. Pens are vital. Buy lots. On top of that, you can have anything else that you really want. I always find stationery very exciting. Maybe that's just me, but lots of students have multiple fancy ring binders. They might have journals and notebooks. They might have their laptops or tablets. All of these things are perfectly acceptable. The main thing is that you have the equipment that you need in order to really maximize your ability to really enjoy the course. So onto the course itself, onto the concepts that you'll be dealing with. Probably a lot of people are asking, what is philosophy? Because you may not have studied it before, in the sense that we're talking about, and therefore you may be a little bit confused. So the traditional definition is this one. So the study of the fundamental nature of knowledge, reality, and existence, especially when considered as an academic discipline. The most important words there for you are this nature of knowledge, reality, and existence. You know it's an academic discipline because you're thinking of doing it at A level, but this idea of it being about the very nature of something, the very construction of these 3 key ideas can be a bit baffling. So what does it mean in practice? Well, let's have a bit of a look and hopefully give you some idea of what that might mean. Okay, so move me out of the way just for a second, not very successfully. What we're going to do is have a little bit of a look at one of the traditional philosophical questions, and this is called the trolley problem. Now, trolley is an Americanism for a tram, as you can see from the picture down on the left-hand side. So what you are looking at is a thought experiment, and a thought experiment is something we do a lot of within philosophy. Is to test how you think. It's to get you thinking and to actually think about thinking. So this may seem an odd concept, but it's to really push you out of your comfort zone. So you're given a scenario. In this case, we're given the idea of a trolley, as I said, a tram, which is going down its track, but has been is out of control. It's lost its driver. It has no brakes, and there are 2 tracks ahead of it. One going off to the left, on which there is 1 human being, and another one going straight down the hill, which has 5 on it. If you go down the left-hand side route, the trolley will kill 1 person, and if you go straight ahead, the trolley will kill 5 people. Now, you are the other person in the equation. You are the person with the lever that you can see in the picture there. You have to make the decision as to whether you kill 1 or 5. Now, this is a very famous thought experiment, and it was devised by a lady called Philippa Foot in the 1950s. And it's really to test just your ability to think and to then justify your view. So you're only given very basic information, but what I'd like you to do at this point is you can pause the video for a few minutes and have a think about this. Have a think about what you do. Have a think about why you would do it. Okay, when you decide to come back to me, if you haven't already, what I'm going to do is just show you a short video clip. Whatever you decided to do, that's your decision. That's absolutely fine. In class, we'd discuss this, we'd unpack the issue, we'd talk about all the possible solutions there might be to the problem. But what I want to do is just show you one from a program that you may have seen called The Good Place. So obviously, you can use multiple sources for these kind of things, but as you can see there, there is no definitive answer. Most solutions are variable and they do depend on your own perspective on things. But Michael hits on a very good point, which is actually we all have different views on issues. We all have different views on everything. And so maybe what we need to do is think more creatively. Most people will go down the route with that trolley problem from Philippa Foot's findings of how do I save the largest number of people? How do I minimize the suffering? Well, what if Michael's right? What if actually what we're looking for is how to kill all the people? We need to see it from both sides. Within philosophy, that's really one of our main jobs. Marcus Aurelius once said that everything we hear is an opinion, not a fact, and everything we see is a perspective, not the truth. Your job is to really think outside the box and to see everything as questionable and every aspect of the world as we know it. Remember that fundamental nature of knowledge, reality, and the world as open to investigation. So, one of the other big issues that we deal with is where our knowledge comes from. And knowledge, as we know, is those things that we have acquired over time or those things that we've been gifted, but things that we feel comfortable and certain of. Now, within philosophy, and particularly in your first year, what you will look at is the idea of perception. So, being able to see and feel and experience things as a source of knowledge, where your knowledge comes from. And so thinking is a big part of philosophy, but not necessarily in the way you might expect. As I said, with the trolley problem, it's thinking differently, not just thinking about the scenario, but thinking about all the other ways and means that other people might see that scenario. So your job is to try and create that new insight and to take what other people consider as the truth and to ask why and to really stretch that issue to help yourself see actually is it truth or is it something we've just accepted as truth because it's easier. So if those of you who haven't seen Inception, it's well worth watching. But the point of that is whilst obviously we can't physically do that in the classroom, that would be very, very exciting, it is a metaphor for how the system of philosophy has always worked. That it takes what other people perceive as real, as true, as normal, and unquestionable, and shatters it it takes it apart and it forces you to really engage and to willfully deconstruct your world so that you can actually enjoy this new knowledge. You can really embrace it and you can find new truths, new uncertainty, and have fun with it. That's the most important part. So when we're talking about this thinking, we said we want to think differently, but the question is, often we start off by saying, what do we think? But sometimes we might be better thinking about, how do we think? Do we actually think independently? Are our thoughts a product of our own brain? Are they completely pure? Or is there an influence on our own thought processes? Do we actually just borrow from other sources and then draw them all together and decide that they're ours? Are we actually influenced in so many different ways and on so many different levels by our surroundings and our experiences? So if there is an influence, what we want to think about is, what might it be? How can we undo that influence? How can we get to the truth, for want of a better word? So task 2, as I said, at this point, what I'd like you to do is pause the video, and this is a bit of a longer task. So you can stop, you can come back to this another day. It doesn't have to be done in one time frame. It's only a relatively short video. What I want you to do is try and break down this idea of influences, where our thoughts come from, where our information comes from. And so I've given you this table, and I've given you 3 sources to consider. 1 is the media, 2 is politicians, and 3 is scientists and the medical world. And I'm doing this with specific reference to the current climate and the current pandemic, because I think it's very topical and very relevant. So what I want you to consider is what's on that table, what is being said, the value of the information, and your view. What do you think of what you're being told? Do you think it's relatable? Do you think it's real? Do you think it's credible? I've given you 3 sources to tackle. Each image has a hyperlink, so hopefully when you get the PowerPoint you can link into those, but feel free to look up others as well to give more weight to your research. So hopefully, having done that, you'll have broken down and looked at the wide variety of information that there is. Politicians telling us one thing one day and another thing another, politicians contradicting each other, the media constantly sharing but then backtracking on information that we are given, and us not knowing which one to take as real. And then the scientific establishment, the medical establishment, giving us information that we need to know, but difficulty being we don't know how much of it to use, and sometimes we just don't know how to use it. So within year 1 of the course, one of the first areas we will look at is this of epistemology. So knowledge, what is it? How do I know what I know? How do I know that I know it? How can I actually guarantee that I have this knowledge? And so when I said about perception of as a source of knowledge, what we're looking at particularly is, can we trust our senses? Can I believe what I see? Can I trust what I hear? Can I know what I have experienced? Then we go on to reason as a source of knowledge. If we do away with our senses and our own understanding of the world, can we use something more structured like maths, science, logic to give us that certainty? And then finally, we look at this idea of the limits of knowledge. So what if, as in Inception, as in so many other films, as in so many concepts, what if all of our knowledge is flawed? What if everything we thought we knew is untrue? What if, as Edgar Allan Poe said, everything we see and seem is but a dream within a dream? What if we are literally living in some kind of pretend world that we think we are in and we think is real? And a big part of your first year will be dealing with those kind of concepts, and they're a real baptism of fire to get you thinking outside of the box, to shatter those sort of frameworks that you've had for so long, and hopefully give you the new skills to comfortably but sometimes uncomfortably deal with these new potential ideas. So the last thing that I want you to do, and this is in your own time, that last column you may have noticed on your table has a little 3-letter title, which is JTB. This is one of the most fundamental parts of epistemology. It's called the tripartite theory of knowledge. It's a system that's thousands of years old that allows us to judge information as to whether it is knowledge. I've given you a breakdown of that information there, some brief definitions. And if all of those are ticked, then that allows us to say that, yes, we do have knowledge. What I'd like you to do as your last task is to pause the video again, to have a look at the information that you gathered last time, look at your table and decide, do any of those sources tick all three of those boxes? And if they do, then you can consider that information as knowledge. And if they don't, then obviously you have to start asking questions about how useful it actually is. So the last thing to say from me then is I really hope to see some of you again in the future. I've given you my email address there. I said if you want any more information, to ask further questions or for more resources, please email me, jbl@woking.ac.uk. There will also be on the PowerPoint an extra slide with all the links to the various resources that I've used and the various sources of information that you need. And there's a quote there from Aristotle, which is, I suppose, something that sums up philosophy in general, but particularly A-level philosophy. As you come from GCSE into A-level, one of the most important things is to be a free thinker. Don't accept everything you hear as truth. Have a really good think about what you think you know, and then come up with reasons to actually believe it. Thank you very much. As I say, if you do want to know any more, please feel free to email me. I look forward to hearing from you.